This is Castor's first time seeing the hose, so I wanted him to just touch this cone first. So he's a little confused. I'm going to show him the cone. I'm going to click when he touches the cone and then give him his reward. But the goal here, idea, was to create a start button with the cone. So he's a little confused. He thinks like he should target the hose, which is fine. Like I'm okay with that. He's not afraid of it, but I just wanted to kind of mess with this and kind of see how that would work. He's just a little confused on what it is that I want to ask him. He's just thinking, oh, I'm gonna go over there because he's seen the hose before. Like I feel his waters. Like he hasn't been sprayed with it, but he's familiar with it. So and then I'm just going to fast forward through the parts where he's just chewing on his treats. So when I'm doing this, like if I was doing this again, I would definitely use smaller treats so that he didn't have as long of a chew time. And that would have helped just kind of move the whole thing along and have my loops become cleaner because then I don't have all that junk behavior before I reward again. Because like here, he's eating, he's looking over here, he's shuffling over there. Like it just leaves in a lot of time and space for him to throw in other behaviors that I don't want. So now he's kind of getting the idea of touching the cone. I've asked him a couple times, but ideally I want him to touch it on its own right here. There, I'll reinforce him again because I want him to touch the cone and then I will present the hose and that's how it'll go. And I won't show him the hose or do anything with the hose until he's already touched the cone. So that's the idea of the start button, and you can do that with anything really. So it worked really well with Atlas. Atlas is a lot more worried though about just things in general. And I was just going to test it out with Castor because I hadn't really done anything with the hose at this point. He's seen it, but he's never been sprayed with it. So I don't know exactly how he's going to react with it, but this is kind of my experiment with it. So after you get through this part, then I will start bringing out the hose and actually having him use the start button. But the idea here is that he's comfortable touching the cone and then you can start bringing in the hose. So now I've just kind of picked it up. I'll show it to him, he'll target it, I'll put it down and or away from him and then reinforce him. So the game's going to change a little bit because he's just touching the cone and being reinforced. So now it's like, can you touch the cone? And then I'll bring this. So he's kind of got to figure it out in the beginning there. He's touching it again. And you have to have small enough steps so that your horse doesn't get worried. Like I wouldn't start this with, oh, he touched the cone, I'm going to spray him. Like he's not ready for that. This isn't on. It's just the hose. So that's my first step. And you might have to start even further away for your horse if the sight of the hose is scary for your horse. So having the cone further away and then just having them target it and or really just getting them closer to the hose from a distance, since if you can't have them target it in the beginning and then getting up to this point, and you might have to pull it further away too before you ask them to touch it, and you might have to just have them touch the cone and then bring the hose closer, not anywhere to this extent which I'm doing now, like maybe just move it a couple feet while your horse stands 10-20 feet away. That could be one of your first steps too. So but I like to just have it and present it to where he can touch it. So he targeted it with his nose on his own first. And now that time I kind of touched him on like the side of the face on the neck with it. So he's going to touch it first and then I'll touch him with it, but only after he's touched the cone. So he touches the cone, I'll bring it up, and he's kind of meeting me in the middle there. He's bringing his neck toward it. So that's a good sign as well. If your horse is leaning away or kind of nervous about it, then I would go back to just letting them target. Like there, he kind of jumped a little bit. So you be careful that I'm not moving too quickly for him. Both physically, like moving my arm too fast, and not like I went to his shoulder that time. So kind of probably a combination of both those things kind of scared him a little bit. But he's sticking around, he's still participating, he's still looking toward the hose. So all of those good signs that tell me that he's okay to continue to participate and he's fine. So I went back a step that last previous time and I just touched him with the hose on the neck, and then I went back to the step he got worried on, which was the shoulder, and he was fine that time. So I'll kind of work down my leg, and I like to just touch him all over his body with the hose. He's not going to really have that happen when I'm spraying him off, but just in case I have to pull the hose over his back or whatever it might be, I just want him to be calm and relaxed with the hose around him in general. Because the hose can kind of look like a snake or a rope, and horses can have fears of both those things. That's pretty normal. So I just go ahead and do that, and then after that step, then I start just like having water trickle from the hose. But I like to just touch them all over with it first. So there I was a little late. I don't know what I'm doing there. Maybe I'm breaking it up. I should have given him reinforcement between there when I said I was late giving it to them, and then he went and touched the cone again. So I should have had smaller pieces already ready and then went ahead and fed him every single time. But I love his body position and his body language here. He just dropped the treat, but he looks great. He's got a hind leg cocked, he's got his head low. He's looking for that cone. He's kind of already understanding the game here. Is he touches that, I touch him, and he's remaining nice and relaxed. So this looks beautiful. I love this. I'm just going to show you this one side. I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Um, I'll do that in a different session, but I won't show you. It's the same process, so you're not bored by it. But the same exact thing. Have him target it with his nose first, and then have like touch him on the face and the neck, and so on. So I don't want to skip any steps, and I like to just do both sides and be really nice and thorough. But this is looking really nice. Have him target it a little bit. I like I could touch him all over his body with it, and he wasn't worried at all. And he's really quick to go back to the cone and be like, okay, I want to touch the toes again. So I like that. If he's taking his time between there, he might be a little bit worried, but that was a great first lesson for him.